how can the church serve the vulnerable during this time of lockdown?
I think it's helpful to remember that a lot of the Bible was actually written under conditions similar to lockdown. The book of Revelations was written from prison, and so were a number of books in the New Testament, Paul's letters and so. So it used to be a, I don't want to say no problem at all, but it used to be the conditions in which most of the New Testament was written, in where leaders or apostles were encouraging believers who were themselves often being persecuted and in danger and on the run. And so the conditions in which the church has served before has always been conditions that are less than ideal. So I think we can manage this. It was even a time when there were no Zoom or Skype opportunities or WhatsApp, social media. So at least we have an advantage. I think the bottom line is that we can't choose the conditions under which we serve. We must serve in the hour that we're called.
Confinement, being in one space, being locked down, should not limit us from loving others and from allowing God to use us to love others and serve others. Ours is a message of hope. Ours is a message of helping others see that God is alive and God still reigns.
There are two types of people that I see that we should be serving as a church. It's people in the church who may be affected by the coronavirus, and people outside the church who may also be affected by the coronavirus, or they don't have the means to look after themselves during this time of the lockdown.
I'm so encouraged by seeing the many ways in which the church is responding and encouraging its people. And I think just more of that is what all of us need to do. And by the church, I mean all of the church. So in brief, I would say, let all of us find ways to communicate, because that's what encouragement consists of. It's an encouraging word, it's a prayer, it's something that you may hear from the Lord on behalf of another person and that you share with them. So all of these are ways in which we can be caring for one another.
Practical things that we can do for those who are vulnerable. I would definitely call people or WhatsApp or message, and I would even really encourage you to pray with people on the phone, or if you're WhatsApping and they leave you a prayer request, to either speak that prayer back or to write it back. But I think there's a lot of practical things. I'm sewing medical masks to donate to the hospitals because I know that that's probably going to become a shortage. I think we can still transfer money online, so as you're in contact with our neighbors and friends, and we're finding out about needs, really stretching ourselves to be able to meet those needs. Being willing to volunteer if volunteers are called on. But yeah, I think especially with the 21 days, food and electricity is something that we can help with our neighbors, especially if we know those who are living day to day and aren't able to really generate an income or work from home for this time.
In our communities, we have people that, even though some of us are locked down, but them, they continue to go to work. For example, essential workers, your doctors, health workers, your doctors, your nurses, people working in supermarkets, in retail stores. Think of those people. It's hard out there. They risking their lives, soldiers, policemen, and so forth, all the essential workers. Think of those and find ways of reaching out to them through encouragement, through messages, through just that support. For example, some of us, they are our spouses, they are our partners, they are our children. Let's try and create conducive environments in the home so that when they come back, we serve them in every possible way we know how to ensure that we lighten the burden that they are carrying through the day.
So the phrase social distancing, that we have been asked to keep social distancing, the warehouse in Cape Town have come up with a very helpful way to say, let's reword that. We need physical distancing at least 1.5 or 2 meters apart, but social solidarity. Love is to practice physical distancing and social solidarity. Social solidarity means we think of those that we can help within our reach.
People outside the church, there's this thing called the crisis response team that people can get involved with. You go online and you find out some of the things that are being done already with government or with NGOs, where we can partner and help the people outside the church or even the homeless people. We can help them in so many ways. Also food packs, we can help them with toiletries and the basic needs that they have. But most importantly, we can pray for them.
In all of these ways, we can be continuing as the church to serve one another, whether we are, as I mentioned, vulnerable or just the ordinary kind of self-reliant people of our nation. So understand that everyone needs encouragement.
With the people in the church, we can have food packs that we can put together and get it delivered to them. Or we can use the internet, online shopping, and get food or basic needs like toiletries, detergents, things that they will need delivered to them.
We can visit people who are in need and keep physical distance and give food or buy medicines for people, buy food for people. Obviously, technology is available to us to phone and help and connect technologically. But if we really do need help, we can go to the store, we can get medicines, and actually go to people in need and drop off stuff at the front door of people like food who need it, and we don't need to be physically close to them.
I'm thinking of people that struggle with mental illness. This is the most difficult time for them. This is the most challenging time for people that struggle with mental illness in particular. I do know a couple of them, and I'm sure all of us, we do know someone who struggles with mental illness. To reach out to such a person. I have someone I know who also is claustrophobic in this lockdown season. I phone the person, check on the person to say, wow, they have phobia of confinement, and unfortunately for their own good, they have to be confined in this time. But occasionally phone them, check on them to say, hey, move around the house and get some fresh air, and no matter how small the space may be, because it's not everybody who have the privilege of a yard or ample space of moving around. This lockdown is not ideal and conducive for everybody, but let's be considerate and empathetic of others as well as we serve.
When it comes to the vulnerable, the fact is that everyone, whether we are classified as the vulnerable or just the rest of the population, are going through times of anxiety as a result of this. And so anything that we can do that will help people cope with their anxieties, anything that we can do to pray and to encourage and to bring comfort is going to be the way in which we serve one another.
I'm thinking of and people that are in abusive relationships, children, partners, wives, husbands. There are men who are abused. Those people also, they need us in this time. Think about them, pray for them, reach out to them in one way or another.
We really need to be aware of the vulnerable now. The lonely, the depressed people who have mental health challenges. This 3 weeks of lockdown is going to cause intense pressure for people, and they need to have solidarity of love by caring Christians.
God has not left us. God is still with us. God is at work. This is not to our destruction. This is an opportunity for us to love one another even the more and to love God even the more.
So it is very important that we actually do pray and ask God for creative ways for us to reach out to people outside of our circle and to be a support for them. If we are willing to really reach out and care for others, God will show us exactly how.
The Church of Jesus Christ is very alive. It will not die with lockdown or with us being confined, because God has set it up that it shall prevail. The gate of hate shall not prevail above his church. So church is alive, church will continue. And you and I being at home, we are still the church. So let's ask God to refresh us, to strengthen us in this time and give us more ideas of doing church in a different ways.